My lords, today we will be discussing the various forms of space fauna that occupy our galaxy in all their glory. I'm pleased to announce that I was assisted with this report by the champion of the Red Order, chairman of Viz. Space fauna ranges from non-sapient space-dwelling creatures to gargantuan Leviathans. They can be incredibly dangerous, but also offer fantastic research opportunity. We shall start with the most common creature, the space amoeba. Space amoebas are non-sapient spacefaring creatures that can be encountered while exploring the galaxy. They are large, floating organisms with tentacle-like appendages and are often found in clusters of multiple individuals in their home system, which we believe to be some sort of giant breeding ground, Amor alveo. Space amoebas are typically neutral or passive towards other species, but will become aggressive if provoked or if their territory is encroached upon. They are generally considered to be not very intelligent, but can pose a significant threat to smaller ships due to their size and strength. Space amoeba have a tough armoured hide that has regenerative properties. We have used samples of their armour to formulate a self-repairing hull technology that is now incorporated on the majority of our fleet. If attacked, they will respond by spitting a type of plasma which is capable of burning through thick armour, and the larger ones seem to have some sort of symbiotic relationship with the smaller creature that we've named Amoeba flagella. They act in a similar way to conventional strikecraft and can be quite effective when used en masse. Space amoebas are also known to be tameable. The legendary space amoeba lovingly referred to as Bubbles is a prime example. Long ago she followed a science vessel home and was subsequently adopted. Bubbles now patrols the inner colonies well away from harm, allowing her to raise her pups in relative safety. Crystalline entities are another type of non-sapient spacefaring creature that can be encountered throughout the galaxy. They are large, crystalline organisms that float through space and are often found near asteroid belts or other sources of minerals. Like space amoebas, crystalline entities are typically neutral or passive towards other species, but they will become aggressive if provoked or their territory is encroached upon. They have powerful energy weapons that can deal significant damage to ships, particularly poorly shielded vessels, and their crystalline structure makes them very resistant to damage themselves. The crystalline entities seem to be made out of a unique crystal lattice structure. The compound has a remarkable tensile strength, and we have begun experimenting supplementing our standard starship hulls with the crystal structure, in the hope that it will offer drastic improvements with hull integrity. It's not quite clear how they reproduce, but the young, i.e. the smaller crystals, seem to congregate around a large crystalline object that has been designated the crystal nidus. This crystal nidus occupies a pulsar system, and ships should be wary of the shield nullification effects of the pulsar. More so given that the crystal's energy weapons have fantastic armor shredding capabilities. This crystal nidus seems to be the central hub of all crystalline activity in the occupied system, and will defend it to the very last core. Despite being hostile, they can be tamed or pacified, and will then allow that empire or nation to travel through the systems unassaulted. We have been fortunate enough to sample a piece of the crystal nidus itself, and found it to be a far denser structure than that of its lesser offspring. Should you get the opportunity to sample this being, I'd highly recommend it. Next we move on to the self-replicating mining drones that are a plague upon the galaxy. They appear to be the remnants of a long-lost civilization and are often found in abandoned mining facilities or asteroid belts. We have found these creatures to be particularly aggressive when approached, and if left to their own devices, they will mine the asteroids and self-replicate to create more and more drones, who will then propagate to nearby systems. They have become quite the space pest. The drones, however, do have some reasonably powerful mining lasers that they use to extract minerals and other resources from asteroids. This technology has been salvaged from defeated drones, and is rather effective against hardened armoured technologies. One fleet admiral, after defeating a particularly large fleet of drones, managed to salvage a remarkable piece of technology that we have called the Surveyor. It has proven most valuable in determining where to set up mining and research facilities. Next, we have the entity designated only as void clouds. These are large, amorphous, cloud-like organisms that float through the void of space, consuming energy and minerals from stars and other celestial bodies. Void clouds are always hostile to other species and will attack any ships that come too close to them. They have a powerful energy weapon that can deal significant damage to spaceships, and their amorphous structure makes them difficult to target with conventional weapons. Void clouds are interesting for a number of reasons. Firstly, they appear to propagate exclusively from the black hole system known as the Great Wound, the same black hole system in which we speculate the first unbidden invasion occurred. Secondly, void clouds seem to have natural shielding, likely psionic in nature, but they also have remarkably powerful energy weapons. Their weapons seem almost entirely random in terms of damage output. It's unclear how they operate, but we have examples of corvettes shrugging off direct hits with ease and then being completely blown apart by a glancing hit. It is likely that their energy weapons, designated Cloud Lightning, are also possibly psionic in nature, thus affecting its assumed randomness. Finally, regarding the void clouds, there appears to be a much larger entity designated the Velour, which appears to be intelligent. It is of a similar nature to the void clouds, but significantly larger in mass, and creates a large subspace disturbance as it travels between systems. A colossal space storm follows in its wake. The entity does not acknowledge hails or any attempts at communication. However, our scientists believe that tachyon particles that it emits are indeed a form of language. If they've translated the pulses correctly, the entity is saying, Velour seeks, Velour finds. What this being is seeking or finding is unclear, and it is not immediately hostile. In fact, it completely ignores our science vessels. We speculate that it may be a scout of some sort, possibly left behind by the Unbidden given its weaponry and shielding. Equally, it may have just seeped into our universe via the transient mess that remains of the Great Wound star system. And there is in fact an entire race of void cloud-like entities, a mere mishap from appearing directly into our galaxy. The last spacefaring creature before we get onto the mighty Leviathans are the Tiyanki space whales. These beautiful creatures are enormous whale-like organisms that roam the void of space, feeding on gases and minerals found in asteroid belts and other celestial bodies. Unlike many of the other space entities we've discussed, the Tiyanki are exclusively passive and will not attack other ships or species unless first fired upon. Sadly, they are often hunted by spacefaring civilizations for their valuable resources, which can be harvested from the gas clouds they consume. Some civilizations consider the Tiyanki to be sacred or holy creatures and may seek to protect them from harm. As we've seen in the Galactic Senate, the subject of Tiyanki protection is a hotly debated topic. The Tiyanki propagate from two systems. Ianavek, a wonderful system containing 4 large gas giants. We assume that this system is the equivalent of a bountiful feast, and the Tian Ort system. Dr. Grant explored the Tian Ort system in great detail. His report is detailed in our records under Tiyanki Corpse World. The Tiyanki are also the only spacefaring entity we've discussed so far to be able to include a Leviathan class creature within their ranks. And that brings us nicely onto the Leviathans of the galaxy, starting with the Tiyanki Matriarch. The Matriarch is the largest and by far the strongest Tiyanki space whale we have ever encountered. She currently patrols the Altair system, which contains an uninhabited Gaia world. It's unclear why she has settled in this system, or why she is protecting this world. She has fantastic offensive capabilities, and of all the entities we are discussing, can easily pump out the most damage. Rumour is rife regarding the Matriarch, and it appears several bold spaceship captains have attempted to fell the mighty beast. If the tales are to be believed, a daring admiral named Reth Undul attempted to face the monster solo. Unfortunately, his vessel, AH-4B, or Ahab, was swallowed by the beast whole. Next we have the Spectral Wraith. We've encountered a number of different wraiths in our time exploring the galaxy. They appear to come in 3 different forms depending on the star system that they're birthed in. We speculate that the eggs laid by the adult wraiths must have a way of siphoning energy from a system star. The star type ends up dictating the species of the wraith that hatches. The wraith is unique for 2 reasons. Firstly, unlike the other Leviathans on this list, it roams between star systems, seemingly not content to stay anchored to its birth system. The species of wraith also has a relationship with the system star. In the systems where the wraith's colour matches the system star, they become significantly less dangerous. We postulate that when in a system with a star type similar to where it was birthed, it can feed upon that star's energy, and in this feeding state it becomes lethargic and weak. Next we have the Stellar Devourer. The Stellar Devourer is one of the galaxy's true wonders, a truly magnificent but terrifying creature. The beast is composed entirely of energy, and literally feeds on stars, consuming them utterly. The Devourer has 6 great appendages that are seemingly impermeable to heat and radiation as it forces them deep into a star's photosphere, latching on, before its great maw begins to suck and consume the star's energy. We found the Devourer in the Zeta Tucanae system, feeding on a yellow dwarf star. The system's planets had long since frozen over. The Devourer seemed content to be left feeding, and the science vessel investigating smartly kept its distance. Disturbing this creature from feeding would likely not go well for us. Next, we have the corrupted Avatar. Through exploration of a wormhole, we found a being composed entirely of psionic energy. The being occupied a unary star system, with a single uninhabited Gaia world. The system had no exiting hyperlanes, only the single wormhole as an exit. I can only describe the being as a large, dense ball of psionic energy surrounded by swirling psionic disturbances. Our scientists theorize it was summoned from the Shroud by whoever used to occupy the planet. The being subsequently butchered the entire race who lived on the world, or perhaps they self-sacrificed to it, thus leaving the system in the state we found it. This monster was felled by Strikeforce Gamma's kinetic batteries. A beast from the Shroud indeed, but it still fell beneath the might of our weapons. The Voidspawn. The Voidspawn is a marvellous creature, and perhaps related to the race of aliens who infested several hundred worlds with great devouring worm creatures to use as an activated weapon. The Voidspawn could be a continuation of that research, or it could of course just be a naturally occurring creature who happens to lay its eggs in planets. We initially encountered seismic disturbances on Gliese 581G. Colonization had just begun on the world when seismologists discovered unusual activity just beneath the planet's crust. As it turned out, a larval Voidspawn had hatched and was slowly consuming parts of the planet and gradually growing in size. We were lucky our excellent scientists caught the incident early, and the decision to allow the monster to grow was made. The colony evacuated and a military fleet brought in to stand by in case the creature was hostile. The creature eventually grew so large it cracked the planet. Unfurling great appendages, it slithered out from the broken world. And perhaps unsurprisingly, it immediately became hostile to the garrison fleet. Fortunately, the men and women of the Commonwealth are used to difficult combat situations, and although studying the creature while alive would have been preferable, it was quickly put down through concentrated tachyon lance bursts. Most noteworthy was the creature's offensive capabilities. It fired living missiles that tracked the heat or the radiation of our vessels. The living missiles were remarkable, penetrating shields and boring great holes into neutronium armor. Indeed, a cruiser was split in two when it drifted too close to the beast. Our biologists are working on replicating the technology, and perhaps we can use these creatures ourselves. The Ether Drake. We found the Ether Drake drifting above a molten world in the Epsilon Indi system. It was obviously guarding something on the planet, and became immediately hostile to the exploring science vessel. Subsequently, the patrolling Strikeforce Zeta was called in to assist in clearing out the beast. Like so many before it, the Drake fell to the might of our battle fleets. This resulted in two significant outcomes. Firstly, the Strikeforce commander earned something of a name for himself. Admiral Iggy is now being referred to as Iggy the Dragonslayer by the general populace, and it was he who championed bringing the beast's corpse back to Earth for a parade. It was certainly a unity-boosting event. The other noteworthy event occurred when the science teams were able to get in and survey the system. On the molten world the Drake had been guarding, they found the corpse of another great Drake, perhaps the beast's mate, and significantly, an egg. Currently unhatched, it has been transported to an appropriate facility in the hope that it does hatch, and we will have our very own space dragon. The final creature we are discussing today is referred to only as the Dimensional Horror. Upon exploration of the black hole system Cygnus 1, science vessel Archimedes was immediately attacked by a being of unknown origin. Incorporeal claws appeared outside the ship, scraping at the shields in an attempt to crush the vessel. Before the crew knew what was going on, they were hit by a massive beam of purple energy, which utterly obliterated the vessel. All hands were lost. Since the incident, we have only sent in automated probes, and what we found was most distressing. A colossal, six-limbed monstrosity appears to be stuck in a dimensional portal of sorts. It wiggles and writhes, attempting to escape its prison. We've no idea how long it has been trapped, but it is clearly incredibly capable, and possibly psionic in nature, given the claws it can conjure. We are in the process of assembling a mighty fleet to deal with the abomination, and can only hope its total destruction closes the portal behind it. Should we simply unplug the portal, a real galactic crisis could occur. Thanks for watching, folks. If you want to hear another story about more extra dimensional invaders, please click the video on screen now.